Hello, Rockstars. This is Gargudon for GTABase, and welcome to episode 16 of the Rockstars On The Road podcast, our discussion-based show talking everything Rockstar Games. Today we are going to be taking an in-depth retrospective look at what to this day still is Rockstar's latest masterpiece. We are of course talking of 2018's ultimate prequel sequel, Red Dead Redemption 2. Joining me for this is my friend and gaming photographer, Eric, also known as Milz VP. And before we jump into it, say hi and tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Hey everybody. I'm just a long-time gamer. I've been gaming ever since I was a little kid. I'm old enough to where the first thing I played was an Atari, actually. But just I love taking pictures in video games. I've played Red Dead Redemption, both of them from the first day they came out, and I haven't played the first one in a long time yet. I plan on getting the remaster, but I have put like well over 3,000 hours into Red Dead Redemption 2.
Incredible. What was it? I think at one point that was like your big, I suppose, photography breakthrough was when Rockstar retweeted your picture, wasn't it? At one point.
Yeah, that's actually what got me into it.
That's incredible.
I was messing around taking, and that was like a regular screenshot too. It wasn't like an actual, like, I didn't enter the photo mode or anything.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like I had experience getting taken out by the bounty hunters for the first time. And
Oh,
whenever, you know how after that happens, you come to and you're just like kind of standing somewhere. And Arthur was standing, leaning against this tree without his hat on. And I was like, dang, the bounty hunters got me. And they took my hat.
oh, right.
And then they retweeted that.
Incredible. Well, that might even have been before like the official photo mode came out, because nowadays with pretty much every game having like a photo mode, it's easy to forget that for the first year of Red Dead 2, all you had was the in-game camera.
See, I didn't even know that because I didn't even like I wasn't a virtual photographer back
Oh,
then, but
right.
it was
Right.
also kind of new at the time too.
It was like,
Like a handful of games had a photo mode.
I always say that as we know it today, that started with GTA 5 and the Snapmatic, the Rockstar editor. And then
Mhm.
soon after, every game started having it. Like we saw it in Assassin's Creed Origins, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and nowadays it's rare to find a game without it. But that was provided a bit of a fun challenge too. Like you had to get the timing exactly right, and just wait for the lighting to be perfect because you couldn't freeze time or anything.
That's what people are experiencing in that
Yeah,
new Oblivion remaster right now.
you still got some great shots out of it. I think some of my best shots are still from like the first couple of months of the game. But yeah, that was a little intro and
Yeah, I
photography
found
pep
out
talk.
since then how hard it is to get some engagement from Rockstar.
It is. There are
So it really
some
was a big deal. I was
photographers
like, oh, that's
throughout
cool.
the community. Like you'll know who you are if you're hearing this. Like it's incredible that you've been able to keep that relationship with Rockstar and be recognized that many times. So it's incredible. And you're lucky if you do get that like or retweet or follow eventually. That was a little bit of a photography pep talk, but with that, let's ride out west again and just get right into this. So first off, what were some of your favorite elements about RDR2 in terms of, among other factors, story, characters, and gameplay?
Well, definitely, I like the slow burn of it all. Like, even with the gameplay, it's like a slow burn. They ease you into it, but by the time, you get a good grip on the mechanics, like with the gunplay and the dead eye and the showdowns and all that different stuff. And then once you do it, just like it feels like natural. Like you can just walk up a street like Clint Eastwood and just take down four or
Yeah,
five
yeah,
people.
it's incredible. Like, where to even begin on like the grandeur of this game? Because it was Rockstar's biggest project to date. It was one of the biggest gaming titles to date. Uh, in so many different ways in terms of details, in terms of install size, in terms of narrative scale, in terms of gameplay, just about everything. And it was Rockstar doing what they always do. The only standards they have to beat are their own, and they set the standards for the rest of the gaming industry for the next couple of years.
That's a fact. It seems like no one's even attempted to make a Western since then.
Nah,
We've been
it's
getting these samurai Westerns, though, and that has been a real treat.
I suppose so. I mean, yeah, it is just like you can't do a Western without it feeling too much, being like a cheap copy of Red Dead. You also
Hmm.
see that other times in gaming, like some eras of history can only be perfected once. Like you had Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, another game I know we both love, and you had
Hmm.
whatever the hell Skull and Bones was. So, and that was the
Maybe
same
it'll get
creator.
better with this land-based expansion they got coming out.
I wouldn't know that, but maybe, maybe not. But no,
Yeah, you never know, but I mean, I agree with you there. Black Flag set the standard for pirate game,
it was
just like
100%.
Rockstar set the standard for Western game.
And crime games and so many other
Hmm.
incredible things.
That's
But
why we haven't had anything compete with GTA. The only thing that's going to trump it is GTA 6.
there's been a lot of GTA like copies, I guess, over the years. Like you had Watch Dogs, which was kind of that, but with hacking, I guess, and you also
That's
had
my
some other.
favorite attempt, actually, was the very
It
first
was
Watch
the first
Dogs.
Watch
Yeah, that
Dogs
game was
was a
great.
great game, but then the franchise kind of like dug itself into a
It went
grave.
all over the
Yeah,
place.
yeah. The first one was a great game, but
Yeah, I love the first one. Aiden got a lot of hate because he was, I
he
guess, too
was a
much Batman or
badass.
something, but I loved it.
Yeah, he was like Max Payne, Batman, like all crammed into one badass. He was cool.
Sick in the hideouts. Like,
Yeah,
you always get a cool hideout.
yeah,
And
yeah. Little container that actually seems pretty comfy living in.
yeah,
But no, back to this one. Like I said, it was just the ultimate prequel sequel too. Like it was a prequel that was bigger than any of us could have ever thought, and like twice the size or the length of the original game. And because when you played the first one, you heard of John, you heard of his past, and this
mm,
Dutch guy, and Bill and Javier, and they moved all across the country, but you never really got to know anything about that. And suddenly you got the whole story. Like
that's true.
everyone in the gang, and the story of the downfall, and we see it through the eyes of this incredible second right hand that we never knew existed, Arthur Morgan.
That's one thing, I'm right there with you. Like, all you know about the gang is that they left John for dead, really.
Of course, that
Like,
was
so
all
it's
we
great
knew.
to see exactly how that circumstance occurred.
Absolutely, that and so many other things. Like, you know, I guess it's a story that, even though it could have been fun to see some of the, I guess, the prime years of the game, like when everyone was happy, before my cup, before everything, like it could have been fun to see or play through some of that. In terms of the narrative, it starts just where it needs to. Like we know this Blackwater robbery that we heard of a bit before, 8 years earlier, in the first game. We knew something went terribly wrong there, and that's what sets everything apart. That's the catalyst for the downfall. That and Micah.
Good old Micah Bell.
Yeah. But no, it's just an incredible story that, throughout the six chapters and an epilogue, tells one of the best, like most meticulously powerful Rockstar and gaming stories to date.
It's really like one of the great classics we have in gaming, in my opinion. It's like, how you got classics with movies. It's getting to the point where we're getting classics with games now too.
Absolutely. And I always said that, like, in this day and age, that video game adaptation TV shows are so popular. This one has the most potential. Whether you want to change a little bit, add something, or just keep it as it is, you could easily turn that into a couple seasons of Western epicness.
So that is the real question. Do you make it be like a one-off mini-series thing, or you like go the other route, make it like an anthology thing, so you could just get the prequel out in the first season, and then do John's story in the second season or something like that.
Something like that. Well, there's a lot of potential. That's
Sorry,
for
they could go
sure.
so many directions.
I think what was also interesting about this game and unique is that for a Western, it really took place, for the most part, anywhere but the West. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it takes place
You don't even get
mostly,
to go west until after you beat it.
yeah, like, Arthur's story takes place in the Midwest, what is the Midwestern South, basically. As you know, they escaped from the West because of their time being passed, or whatever it is Dutch keeps saying. And it isn't yet until the very end of the game that I was, when we're recording this, I'm actually doing a replay, and just the other day was the first time, like, as John in the epilogue, I got to ride out to New Austin again. And that is just,
It's
that's a
gorgeous out
feeling,
there.
yeah. All that
And like the
detail.
whole thing with Armadillo.
Yeah, the scorching heat and the, just feel like a proper outlaw again, like
Yeah.
on the desert plains. But in addition to the incredible story, it wouldn't be anything without its characters, which there are some familiar ones, fan favorite ones, and then there's also an array of new characters that we never knew existed, but serve their purpose.
I think one of the things I liked about that was how we basically got the origin story on the Pinkertons that dragged John into his whole
That's
story.
true. I remember the first time playing in Chapter 2, a Fisher of Men mission, I'm like, that's that motherfucker Ross. Who later becomes, the most, like, the primary villain of the Red Dead series, I suppose. And then also seeing...
Say that. There was really nobody, like, if they were to go forward next time they make a Red Dead, like, it doesn't make as much sense as if they went back even farther.
I suppose so. I suppose we can talk about that towards a little later, maybe. A potential third installment. But it was also so many of these characters that were portrayed as villains in the first game, getting to see a whole new side of them. Dutch, of course, which you know how it plays out. So throughout this game, even you're like, this is going to end terribly
wrong.
That
was a performance.
But what really stood out was Bill and Javier, who, for the most part in the first game, I think Bill is portrayed as this like old mad bastard, and he was always
bulldog,
and he was a little out there sometimes. But for what it is, he's loyal. He's straight with Arthur for most of the game. In the end, it was just his undying loyalty to Dutch that got the better of him. And the same with Javier. Like, he was never portrayed as necessarily hostile originally, but in this game, he's your brother. He really is. Even very...
if you think about it, like how Bill and Javier, they weren't there to see a lot of the crazy shit Dutch did. Like, Arthur was there for most of that, so he was really the one that like got to really see how crazy Dutch was becoming, and starting to lose it and go off the rails.
I suppose so. I mean, Javier was it was the same with Bill. He wasn't a bad guy. Him and Arthur and John were always pretty straight. In the end, it was just his loyalty lied elsewhere. Because throughout most of the game, Javier is like your brother. He's even more welcoming and accepting as Arthur, especially in like the very second mission. When you're riding up to find John in the mountains, him and Arthur and Javier go up. Javier's like, John's my brother. He would never ride off just like that, where Arthur is the bitter one holding all the grudges towards John.
I think it hurt Arthur more when John left, since they've known each other since childhood.
They grew up together. The gang started basically, in the 1870s with like Hosea, Dutch, and Arthur. Then they got John on board, and then everyone came in after that. That's like the OGs, John and Arthur. That was another that really plays towards the redemption part of the story, is also the relationship between Arthur and John. Arthur's bitter that he rode off for a year, came back. He's not much of a father to Jack, but still we see that they can put their differences aside when it comes to the greater good of the gang and when it comes to work. Even in Chapter 2, they're pulling some jobs together, and it only evolves. In Chapter 3, like in the South, they also ride together more, and that is really John's turning point, I guess, is when Jack is kidnapped.
They'd say, like, I think one of the conversations you hear when you're around camp or something, I don't remember exactly how you get it, but like John thought Jack might not even be his. So that theory is like that turning point you're mentioning. That's whenever he was like, "That's my boy."
Yeah, when Jack is kidnapped, John just realizes I've been a pretty shit father to the kid, and also the mission where they get him back where they go to the graveyard to do some grave robbing. John is like all quiet and like kind of in shock, but he's like, "Thank you, Arthur, for helping me get the boy back." And that is when the John we know really starts taking shape, like the family man who was loyal to what matters, as Arthur would call it. There were just so many also original characters. I think everyone's favorite has got to be Miss Sadie Adler.
God, can't beat Sadie, dude. I wish, like, I'm probably not in the minority saying that she needs her own game.
I mean, in a time where there's so much in Hollywood and such talk about strong female characters, and all the strong ones are just written for the sake of an agenda, Sadie is the definition of a badass. Like, she's a badass, she's hot, like, everyone just can't resist her, how cool she is.
You really can't.
No. And I don't know how familiar you'd be with, like, the bro country music phenomenon, but all those, like, Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean type motherfuckers saying, like, cowgirls and southern girls, yeah, Sadie's too good for you. Yeah. But no,
yeah, they wouldn't be able to hang with Sadie.
Sadie. Nah. But he was just, yeah, incredible, and the bond between her and Arthur, especially towards the end and throughout. There was always something with these two. When they were together, they were a dangerous duo.
They really were. Like, I love the missions that you go in with with Sadie, especially just taking out those damn O'Driscolls.
In the end, yeah, you're the only one of these trolls I trust, Arthur. That's also it's a proper mission, like, where they just realize that, yeah, that there's nothing those two wouldn't do for each other, and of course Charles Smith as well.
Love Charles.
That is like the loyal gang, those four, like Arthur, John, Sadie, and Charles. And we have the three of them being all that's left in the end, riding together to finish the job and avenge Arthur.
And that's that trail of blood they leave on that mountain's what leads across to John.
That is, but let's not think about that depressing fact for right now.
I know, right?
But Charles is also just an incredible character who for what it is, helps unlock Arthur's potential. Even in the very beginning, Arthur is still bitter, and we don't really know how much him and Charles ever wrote together, but he says, okay, you and me, we're going out hunting now. He teaches Arthur, his sharpened senses and his, how to hunt. And then the two ride more and more together when they go riding out, searching for a new camp. Arthur's like, we should leave these Germans. And Charles, no, I know you got better in you than that. And towards the end, they're brothers.
Yeah, definitely.
The goodbye scene is it's one of the heavy moments of the game. I'm gonna stay, help the Indians move. Yeah, I'm gonna stay too. No, brother, you got other people who need you. Man. And the two just hug, and Arthur rides away. That's a heavy one.
Definitely was. That when he lost his horse right there.
Oh yeah, and in the final mission
too.
Yeah, this fine horse you've been riding for, I would take the majority of the game. Yeah, I always stick with
never changed. A lot of people never went and got other horses. They stayed in one the whole time.
I always stick with one, like the one you get in the mission early on, with Hosea, where you go to hunt the bear. That's my goal for the rest of Arthur's story.
Yeah, that's why I never changed horses with Arthur. Now, when I got John, I opened the stable up at that point because he could afford it.
And of course, Arthur Morgan, which is one of the most beloved, loved video game protagonists of all time, basically now, and he instantly was. And what made him so great was the redemption, I guess. I always thought, returning to Black Flag, that him and Edward Kenway, any of Assassin's Creed fans who might be listening to, I always thought they shared some similarities. If you see what I mean, in the sense that
I can see that Edward was kind of low down in the beginning too, and he came had to change heart by the end of it all.
Yes, he started losing all his loved ones. Edward started, maybe I shouldn't just chase riches, and maybe I should help the greater good. And the same with Arthur. He's very stubborn, he's very brash and bitter. But then, as the gang falls apart more and more, and him and John improve their brotherhood, and the real turning point is riding down the street in Saint Denis, and suddenly the screen turns shaky, and you're like, "What is going on?" I remember the very first
It's
time I
right
played.
after you went through some stuff too.
The very first time I played that, I was like, no, I was just on my way to see Sadie at that tavern in Saint Denis, and then I'm like, the screen starts acting all blurry, and I'm like, did I forget to eat as the character? And is he having like a fit or something? And you're like, this is a mission. What is going on? And that's basically when Arthur's life turns around in an instant.
Yeah. I think staring death in the face will do that to you sometimes.
Of course. Another thing with Black Flag, which feels inspired by that, was of course Chapter 5, where you take a little vacation to the West Indies, which was such a clever, it's one of the most clever parts of the game.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, I mean, such a change of scenery. It looks nothing like there anywhere else in the game.
No, no. It was, even if you got to explore a fraction of it in the open world without like getting invisibly sniped or having an army of soldiers on you, it was just really incredible. Like, and also from a gaming, a playing perspective, it was like, now it's pure survival. Now it doesn't matter like what horse I got, what guns I got.
Right?
Pure survival right now, and it was pretty fun.
It was a real wake.
Like
It's
I
pretty
only
fresh in my mind. I had a replay recently myself. I remember waking up on that beach, trying to, like, you wake up, nobody's even there. You don't even know anybody with you at first.
and the funny thing about that too is just for a second, it's like Arthur and Micah, who at this point aren't friends, or like they work with each other just because they need to, but it's also there for like a second. They forget that they kind of got grudges towards each other, and let's just focus on getting off this rock first. Everybody just kind of bands together for a few days.
That's true. They do. They came right together. I
But then
think
again,
part of that was that Dutch happened to be there too, though.
that's probably a part of it, and I can't also help but think, what if Charles had been there with them, but he like ran off to cause a distraction for the others to get on the boat? But what if Charles had been there? That might have changed things up.
Yeah, it might have.
What was lucky is that John got arrested, because if he'd been on that boat, he would have gone sleeping with the fishes. He can't swim, famously.
That's true. He sure
Yeah.
can.
But that chapter was just incredible. It was really intense with a change of scenery, and for a few minutes it's just about survival, and it also added, I guess, kind of like, I don't know quite how to describe it, but it was just a perfect turning point. That's one thing to say about it. I think another, I mentioned the senses before. Another part of the game that felt inspired by Assassin's Creed was the eagle eye sense, like the super senses. Like suddenly you can see trails of animals, and you can see things light up in gold, and where have I seen that before?
That's true. That's popped up. That kind of eagle vision
Yeah, exactly.
sense, that sixth sense is popping up across a whole bunch
But
of
it
different.
was so great to see that after Rockstar had basically for years, they set the standards, and Assassin's Creed would go on to copy that. That now they were like returning the favor in a way, like, let's borrow some elements from your great franchise and implement it into ours.
It's becoming a new great art form. Just like music, they're collaborating now, and it's okay to do a nod in someone else's direction if they did something awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I think the last major character to briefly cover would, of course, be the antagonist of them all, Micah Bell, who is such a like, the fact that one man caused so much damage is kind of like uncomprehendable, but that's the way it went.
I think there are a few villains in gaming that rile me up as much as he
Yeah.
does.
Because the truth is that, what is it, before the Blackwater thing, Micah had only been riding with them for like 6 months, and they'd been
Mhm.
going strong for like 20 something years. But then he comes aboard and everything goes to shit.
Yeah, no other way to put it. That was the end result.
In terms of it being a different kind of Western, is what also is the classic symbolism. In the old Westerns, the good guy would wear a white hat, the bad one would wear a black one. Where here it's the complete opposite. Arthur famously has the black hat, same with John, and Micah wears the white one.
Mm-hmm. Like polar opposites.
Yeah. Like for a Western, this was such a this was the best non-Western Western ever. It took
Yeah.
place in so many other places and had so many like atypical traits, like the hats, for example. But
Yeah.
when it comes to it, I suppose it is like the classic Western revenge story, and
It was the end of the days, like
it
people
was.
acted like over here they acted like it was Wild West like until like the 1920s or so before like everybody really made them start calming down with all the firearms and the vigilante justice and what have
Of
you.
course. Of course. Yeah. Now it
So
was just,
it's cool to see that they're true to form.
I think another interesting part of the story is that's kind of popped up in some Rockstar titles is that towards the end there is a bit of a social commentary as well, with the Indians.
Oh, man, I wish they had delved. That's the one thing I wish they had delved more into. Because
Yeah,
like they had a prominent role in the first game too, towards the end
a
there.
little bit, yeah. But it's just you've seen it in some other games, like maybe you played GTA San Andreas back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Like towards the end you have something which is like clearly a bit of a commentary on like the LA 92 riots kind of being reinterpreted in game and doing their version of it. And I suppose you've also had it in like GTA 4 with like the Balkan War and such. And that is like the first, I guess it is found with some different things throughout the game. Like I suppose like the Civil War plays a bit of a role early on too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would. I mean, like
Post Civil War, yeah.
they're not that far away from the Civil War when you start in Red Dead Redemption 2.
No, it's like 34 years after.
Yeah, it's
And
not all
and
that far after.
and then you go down south in chapter 3 there and you basically see that some of these people are still very much living in the
Oh
past.
yeah.
And they're
Like when
trying to
you're down there in like
roads,
Rogue
yeah.
and Saint Denis, like that's Louisiana and New Orleans and Mississippi. That's what all that is meant to
Yeah.
represent.
You you
And
go
that
to
all some people there now still have those sentiments. So you got
yeah, like you go to Saint Denis and suddenly, as
yeah.
weird as that place and it's like out of place as the gang feels in a city like that, it's like this is the normal South compared to Rhodes and such was like real
Mhm.
hit country. But no, there was just so many great aspects of it, and for what I think it is, like the Indian side story in chapter 6, they added a whole different like layer to Arthur as a person who he is now. Like he's gonna go behind Dutch's back to help these people, him and Charles become a major
Mhm.
part of that. All for Dutch to take advantage of the situation, and it ends the way it does.
Well, like I always think of it like he got that part of him. Like I feel like he inherited that from being partially raised by Hosea, because
Yeah,
Hosea was really honorable like that. I
he
feel.
was. Yeah, in the
Then
end,
like his ruthlessness and like his tactness and all that, I feel like he got from Dutch.
that's a good way of looking at it. And there is no doubt that it was when Hosea died that Dutch became who he was always meant to be. Hosea and Arthur together were like the kind of controlling force that kept him in line.
Yeah, he did seem to that did seem to be the differentiator.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the final, we can always come back to it if there's something we missed, but I think the final part of this question is like just the world and gameplay itself. where even to begin? This was incredible. I've never seen an open world that it's easier to get lost in than this one. Like, oh, I just spent 2 hours riding around this little part of the forest just exploring. Okay.
I've spent entire days just hunting. Like real life days.
It's kind of like sometimes when you're looking for an animal, it's nowhere to be found. And when you're not looking for it, it's everywhere.
They're everywhere. They're like
and the
running
rarest
the path
animal
right in,
in the game is a moose. You can go to like the spawn locations, but it's only 1 out of 20 times a moose will pop up, and in perfect condition.
Yeah, if it does, it's half the time it's a 1-star.
Yeah.
It's even harder in the online.
Did you ever do them 100% completion?
Me? No, I hardly ever do that in any game. There's always at least 1 or 2 tasks that I'm not interested in.
Fair?
And I think in Red Dead it was like picking all of the herbs, finding all the herbs.
I'm telling you, what's really time consuming is like the hunting things. Oh, you need to find 3 of this bird that only spawns in this little vicinity and in perfect condition. Oh.
That's one thing I've been doing with my replay, because like I go back and I'm John now, but like I try to like go to the trapper and like get all the animals he wants for the different like unique outfits you can make and stuff.
That was another part of the game which I was really happy to see, was the crafting, which I guess kind of comes from, a series like Far Cry. Is like the kind of the frontier survival. You gotta use the plants and the environment to make your supplies.
And then finding the different recipes for stuff and like having different ammo, like incendiary buckshot.
Yeah. And then also, the hunting to make, I want this cool new vest, but I gotta get 2 perfect pelts for that first, which was really fun too.
There's this like cool like leopard. I think it's like a leopard or a panther poncho. It looks so sick. I'm trying.
Oh yeah, I know. That came from, I think, the legendary panther, which I remember it took me a few times, because that thing will jump onto you, bite you in the neck, and you're dead.
You die fast, and then you got to figure it out all over.
Unless you put 10 bullets in that thing first.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just an incredible world. That one thing that took me by surprise was that they included the entire original map in this game too, which I didn't think was going to happen. I thought it was only going to be a section of like the Great Plains, maybe. But
I'm still hoping they give us that Mexico section one day.
That could be fun. 4 years earlier, where apparently nothing was built, like the little towns and such. But like the fact that we got the whole of New Austin, but in Super HD, was one of the best parts of the game.
I love it. I love New Austin. I like every time I play that game, I spend so much time in like different environments.
And like, if there is one upside to like the character switch, it is that you get to ride through tall trees and the plains in New Austin again. Finally.
Yeah, I think it was a super good decision to save that for
last. Yeah,
because by then they knew what they'd done. They knew everybody was going to explore and explore and explore.
Yeah.
And by the time you get that far in the game, if you were anything like I was or like you were, you've explored everything you can explore pretty thoroughly.
That's another thing. I was honestly thinking, playing this game, that like there's no way they're going to do the character switch. Like one protagonist dies and we switch again. But
I didn't see it coming either.
They did.
Wondering the whole game. I was like, well, what happened to all these guys?
I was thinking, like, what does it end with? Does it end with Arthur like riding into the sunset with Mary, or how does it end? That's another.
That would have been a nice ending. I guess if you went redemption route. That's
another character who, when you like really play it, realize has an impact on you trying to be in Arthur's head, is Mary.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a tragic love story, because even though they went apart and Mary comes begging to Arthur for help, like, stop kidding me, bro. You love that woman, and that woman still loves you.
It depends on how you approach it, though. That's one of the few things they give you agency over. You can totally write her off if you want to. I did that in my last playthrough.
I always help her, and like when
I ran her off, I was like, "Get out of here!"
When the two meet in this, like in Saint Denis again, and like they basically make the deal, we're gonna ride off together like we were always meant to. It's just like suddenly you're hopeful, but then
he got sick.
But then, yeah, the first they take a trip halfway down the world, they get back, he kind of forgets about it, and then, yeah, he gets sick, and it's like, what would it have mattered anyway? And then she sends her the goodbye letter in the ring. He's like, Arthur didn't know he had a heart, but now he does because it was broken. And then that ring 8 years later, like, is the one John uses to propose. Everything in that story just came so full circle. And
Yeah.
remember the first time finishing chapter 6, I was like, is he dead? What just happened? And suddenly a transition screen. Now I'm John. What? It took a little getting used to, but
It did. I was surprised at that too. I really didn't think they were going to do that again.
It's almost like in the original game. In the original game, you're like, I don't want to play as Jack. I want to play as John. Now that I finally got John,
man, I was super pissed when they killed John.
now I don't want to play as John. Now I want to play as Arthur.
Right? That's so funny. You have the same feeling at the end of both games.
But it was just so incredibly well pulled off, and I mean, it's a thing now. That is what the redemption in the title means. That one protagonist is going to die, and it's going to be switched up towards the end.
Have you went through the thing? Like if you choose to continue to be dishonorable, then like you know when he starts having those dreams, you'll see a wolf instead of a deer.
Yeah. Never.
You'll have a way worse ending with Micah than you do if you.
I know about that. You get just stabbed in the back or shot in the head.
Yeah, that was the one I got, the headshot. I was like, ooh!
Nah. The honorable one and helping John escape is the only right way to do it.
Oh man, I totally 100% agree. I did it crazy this last time just because I wanted to see what would happen, and I was like, I definitely like the redemption ending better.
That just made me think, is that another part where this game was like the atypical Western was, especially throughout the story, was also the soundtrack. Like when you think Western, you think acoustic guitars, you know, like big kettle drums, like Gunslinger or Telecaster and such. But a lot of the soundtrack was like, you had like Unshaken, the iconic song, but which is very like soul, like influenced, like kind of African American rootsy music, which with the setting, I guess, makes perfect sense. But it was an interesting choice.
Yeah, it was one of the first games to do that too, like give you an actual song while you had to go somewhere.
Yeah. And also,
man, I always love that. I love it when games do that.
Kind of like TV, like the best TV shows. Like at the end, there'll be a song which perfectly fits the scenery, and also that's the way it is, which has a bit of like a country feel, but also has that kind of like soul influence. It was just a really interesting decision, and then you had some of the original tracks where the Western element really got knocked up again. But it is like compared to the original, the soundtrack of the original game, there were definitely more soul and I guess R&B and kind of African American influences to this one, which worked, but was a bold, interesting choice to say the least.
Yeah, it was, but I mean, I think, I don't know, kind of goes somewhat with the South. I feel like it was more of a Southern song than a Western type song.
That might be.
At least with the shaken one. I mean, there's like...
Yeah, that felt kind of very New Orleans-y, jazzy, soul-y. Road, there I just want banjo. I want Telecaster. I want like real fast country type stuff.
Yeah.
It
was interesting.
It was an incredible soundtrack, like nonetheless, and that's the way it is during Arthur's final ride. That's powerful. Just
you can't beat
of his life, because now he knows only one of us are walking out of this alive. It was just incredible, and there was so much gameplay in this game that there was just so much to do. It
was so immersive.
And the best
we were there with him going through all that shit.
Yeah. And while there were, like a couple side missions like the Strangers and such, which some of them were very interesting, like the Time Traveler and the rock carvings or whatever what's going on there. The best part of it was the ones that, like the hunting you said, just allowed you to be in the open world.
And it
I
had woods. It had woods you could actually get lost in. Like we'd seen woods before that, but you couldn't get lost in them.
no, I
Like
suppose
you
that's true, and
And
that's
that's one
it.
thing I always liked. I like to get off the main path and like actually become lost and need a map. It's cool. It feels
That was
good.
an interesting theory about the time traveler. Do you remember from GTA the Epsilon program, like the Scientology like kind of parody?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember them.
They, he there was a theory that is this guy actually from that like church and like a time traveler of sorts because he was wearing like the light blue robes. He was basically a perfect like example of craft, I think, which is like the god of the church or something. Like he had a mark on his eye and red hair, and that's an interesting theory. It's like a Rockstar multiverse of what's going on.
I don't know. Like there's they kind of connect them. So online there's a revolver you can unlock, and then you can find it in GTA as well online.
Yeah, that was the double action revolver, I
Lowry's,
think.
I think it's Lowry's revolver or something.
That might be.
But I
Yeah,
always like to pretend that my GTA character is the great great grandson of my Red Dead character.
that's a fun thought. That's a fun thought indeed. But no, yeah, it was just an incredible world, like the biggest one to date. Like you can be out in New Austin and kind of feel so far away from like Beaver Hollow is on the other end of this map. No way. Like they really made it feel big and like it's two
Yeah,
completely ends of the
it's
country.
so vast.
So vast, so many amazing details to see, and
I like the another thing that I really liked about it was like the dynamic weather and like
yeah,
fog effects and like the rain and like everything was just it was
it was
alive.
incredible. It was
Even the
incredible.
environment was alive.
It was incredible. Yeah, like you'd find predators attacking each other
Mhm.
and everything. It was incredible. We can always come back to it if there's something we missed, but of course, I also wanted to hear like if we haven't talked about it a bit already, like in what ways do you feel this game further evolved Rockstar's catalog and open world gaming, and how was the game's legacy looked upon today?
Well, it seems to me like every new thing they do builds off of all of the old awesome things that they did.
Of course, that's Rockstar.
Like they've been building worlds like I mean, we all remember Grand Theft Auto 3. That was the first time they broke the mold with the open world, and they've just like redone that over and over
Every
again.
time.
But
The
I
only
think the reason that they can do that is because they don't adhere to anybody's directive but their own. It's nothing's getting released until it's perfect.
That's true. And like I said earlier, every time the only standards Rockstar have to beat are their own, and everyone tries to copy it to some degree because it works.
I feel like in the lull, to go off on another game, but I feel like in between all this whenever The Witcher 3 came out and it showed everybody how you can make a quest have multiple tiers to it.
Yeah.
It's like the same kind of thing that Rockstar's done like when Red Dead 2 came out.
It's funny you say that because coming from Assassin's Creed, that quest formula instead of like the very fixed like main mission, that was one of my main dislikes. And for what it is, in Red Dead it sort of works with like the side strangers quests for the most part, I guess it is. But the story is still like there's one like a linear narrative. You can do some missions in the order you please, but it still all leads to this. And there's the gold medals and the optional objectives, everything. But in terms of just the open world, there was definitely that kind of freedom, I guess. Like if it was a hunting objective or something, you can do it in any order you please. Just do it.
Yeah, few games give you the kind of freedom that they gave you. And it's like
Absolutely.
they also made their open world extremely interactive. And I feel like that's what's missing in a lot of our open worlds that we're getting in other games is, yeah, they're sweet, they're beautiful, they're huge, but you can't interact with a lot within them. But Rockstar, they see that.
True.
Like you
You
can
can
interact with
you
so many things.
you can basically insult or compliment about every stranger on the street. And that will get you in some sort of trouble, maybe not.
Right?
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things to do to see how far I can push the line before somebody wants to
And
create a law
that
on there.
was another really dynamic feature you mentioned was like the hair growth. Where in other
Mhm.
games it just stays one length magically forever. In GTA you
Yeah.
could go in bold. I want a blowout now,
Only
like
other
a
game I've
magic
seen
hair
natural
transplant.
hair growth in was The Witcher.
Uh, uh,
Wild Hunt.
speaking of, for once Rockstar were like kind of picking like the best traits from other hit games, and now we're
Hmm.
going to use it and make it even better. Now that was really fun. How do you usually go? Like, do you prefer like short hair, short beard, or how do you go?
I alternate. It depends on what outfit set I'm wearing because every like there's a little cutback with some of the longer
Yeah,
hairstyles and some of the coats
I
and whatnot.
the way
But
I always do it with Arthur is like for the about the first chapter 2 and 3, it's the short hair more or less, and like short beard, maybe a bit of a mustache, like good Movember mustache.
mm,
And then after that mission with the where he gets captured by the O'Driscolls and it automatically gets long, I keep it long. Maybe take a little off, but like a fancy beard for you want to you're going to the city now. Have like a proper
yeah.
fancy beard, wear a suit. But then like when you
Yeah.
get back
My
from
first
war,
playthrough, I let it grow. I let the beard and the hair grow all the way out until we got to Saint Denis, and then I shaved and went clean cut after that.
yeah. But like for the last chapter 6, I'm just like Arthur's old, he's dying. Just gonna give him a full beard, like an old man look, maximum hair
Oh,
length. I think
I drink a lot of hair tonics for that.
yeah. I got it to like 8 out of 10 just before the final mission, which is 809. It's like a good, cool kind of old man looking length.
Oh yeah, it's the wizard beard.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's no doubt that in terms of this game's legacy, that like so many other Rockstar titles, it's been a cult hit for about 7 years now, and it became it so quickly. Even after a month, everybody was like, praising the actors, and just they had gathered a fan base they never knew they would get. And to this day, that like that Rob Widow and Alex McKenna, Roger Clark can still turn up to Comic Cons for panels and meet fans and such is incredible. Or even all these years later.
It's so cool that like you could go in and portray a character, and everybody loves the character so much that they now love you.
Yeah, that's exactly it, and there's no doubt that what otherwise were these, like, I guess minor theater actors or such, or like voice actors, suddenly just got that big break with this. It was incredible. So, and to some degree, I would even say that it's Rockstar's most averagely known game, if that makes any sense. In the sense that like GTA, everybody knows it, but it's not everybody that's played it. Maybe they're not into the whole culture of the game, like the whole shoot 'em up, prostitution, whatever,
Right?
drug dealing thing. It's not exactly kid friendly. Uh,
No, it's not.
but in terms of like people who also play The Witcher, also play Assassin's Creed, those type of like cult hits, they would also play Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it is Rockstar's most known game to date and beloved.
That's one thing they've always been pretty good at doing is appealing to a wide audience. And like especially with GTA, so many people play that don't even play games, but they play
Yeah,
that.
they play I mean, everybody knows GTA 5, and to some
Right?
degree, I would still say GTA 5 is bigger than Red Dead 2, from like to some degrees.
It's
But
because of how they put everything into that online, man. That's some of the best marketing I ever seen in my life.
that was another
With
thing, is
with
that
GTA
after
Online, it's
after
still
G
making money right now.
it is, and I mean, they're gonna push it long as they can before GTA 6 eventually comes out. But that was also what was fun to see, as someone who thinks that the GTA 5 story mode never got the love it deserved, is that to see Red Dead 2 story get that love was incredible.
It certainly did. That's one of
No,
the best stories,
like
video game or otherwise.
online exists, Rockstar still maintains it, but it's very
Mhm.
clear they gave up on it a long time ago.
I have a
Uh,
feeling that maybe once 6 comes out and it's down the line, they might revisit it because they're
Maybe.
keeping it alive.
I mean, I still got, I think, 4 or so achievements left to unlock in that. Maybe
Mhm.
just get the points, go for those. I don't know. But I've also talked with others about this to some degree. Did this game even really need a multiplayer? Like, the story was perfectly fine as it is. No doubt everyone spends the most time there anyway.
True. I totally agree. They did make a good online with it. It's fun. It's fun to play online, especially fun if you got people to play with.
Of course.
Like,
Yeah, in the end,
I
it
put
just
a
got.
lot of hours into the online.
I never put as many into those as you would think. For me, it was story mode.
Yeah,
Like
that's
like
usually
like
how I am. This one got me though. I was really invested in Red
like I
Dead.
wrote you the other day. In under 2 months, I think my total playtime was like 240 hours or something. And then about after 370, I finally got that 100% completion. After so much getting
So
through the
that's like
challenges,
comparable to a Skyrim or a
yeah,
Elder Scrolls
and and
playthrough.
and so much hunting and so much finding this little bird and so much plucking these plants for this fancy hat. And but intentionally, I was like, the final thing I'm going to do is just catch the legendary fish. Just like chill out, just have fun, like do some exploring in the. Actually, the very last thing I did before I. You've probably seen the 100% cutscene. Like it switches to black screen and you're John standing up by Arthur's grave.
Oh yeah, I've seen that on YouTube. I haven't
Yeah.
done it myself.
Oh, worth it.
Mm.
Like the best in the West achievement unlocks, and you get the outfit, and it's incredible. The very
Uh,
last thing I did was actually find. You need to collect so many special weapons. Like I found the Viking axe, also like coming from the north. Like
mhm.
that's gonna be it. So yeah, that was just a major relief. Finally getting that completion. Um, so yeah, there's no doubt that the legacy of this game is well alive. Will be kept well alive, whether it's the final we see of the Red Dead franchise or not.
I'll
And
tell you, it's one of the only games from that's as old as it is that doesn't feel dated whenever you play it.
of course not. And it's another one of those games that kind of like GTA 5, I was looking so forward to. I was there from day one, and like for about 2 months, it was the only thing I played. Because nowadays, I'll switch up games every
I do the
few,
same.
yeah, like every weekend, I'll play something new. But it was the only thing I played for 2 months straight.
I was the
Yep.
same whenever I got it. I didn't get it on day one. It was like
Oh,
whenever my first kid was born, but shortly after that, I did get it.
that's something to when they're going to be staying up all night anyway. Little something to
Mhm.
pass the time. Oh yeah, I got it day one, October 26th, 2018. It was that was a fun time. And then I think
Yeah.
launch weekend alone was probably like 36 hours of gameplay. I started Friday, 8 in the evening, and then just went for 8 hours. Then I had 6 hours of rest. It was like 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. And I had
Yeah.
a little snack break, like in the evening, making some like mozzarella sticks. And then the next day, 10 more hours, 12 to 10. And I'm like, now I should probably sleep. Finish these assignments for school and such.
I
Yeah.
definitely did that with both Red Dead and GTA 5.
Oh, yeah.
I put
GT,
so many hours, late nights,
yeah, same,
and I
same,
know I'll be doing it when 6 comes out too.
same. So yeah, the overall, like, yeah, to conclude this point, the legacy of this game is incredible. It's Rockstar that once again did what they always do, make a game that just leaves its stamp on pop culture, uh, boosts the careers of the main cast, and and gives them a legacy that like wouldn't be possible in many other cases. So it's incredible. Finally, I guess we could talk a little bit about like it's unfortunate that this game, kind of like GTA 5, never got a story expansion. But what would you have wanted that to consist of if it was? You mentioned Sadie earlier on.
it was a long time before we got Undead Nightmare, so I still hold out hope that they might throw something out of left field on us eventually. But yeah,
Yeah,
either Sadie or Charles, I'd love to see them put more story into. Um, it also would it'd be kind of cool to see how Javier and Bill ended up in their respective roles. Like, how did
yeah,
they get? They were like, because I know they had a small journey. They went on stuff, had adventures just like John did, building up his house.
of course. No, yeah, I
Maybe they
think
could just make a DLC that takes us like that through all the gang members that survive.
I think the fan favorite is Sadie, and if I
Oh
had to
yeah.
choose Sadie, if it's we follow her between the years there, 1899 and 1907, or if it's like when she moved to South America or whatever it
Hmm.
is, just love to
Yeah,
play as her.
I would, if I had to could only pick one, I would think I would choose
Yeah.
Sadie.
There's potential for Charles, whether we'd follow him, helping the Indians move and or before he joins the gang, and then give him some like I guess special hunting ability or like some sharpened senses or something, because
Mhm.
that feels ideal for that character. He was the master hunter.
I always thought it'd be cool. You know, they could just go the other direction and send Charles up northeast because it's not that far away from prohibition and the mobs and all that showing up.
Hmm.
He'd
I
make a
suppose
great
so.
mob enforcer.
Oh yeah, yeah. Maybe he needed new ways of employment in the 20s. There, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be fun as well. I mean, what is it? Undead Nightmare, I think, came out a year or so after the original.
Mm.
So I hate to say it, but like
Yeah,
if
I
we'd
doubt
gotten
it.
anything, we would have gotten it now.
Maybe
But then
so. I remember when I still remember that they had like this huge like launch roadmap or whatever that basically got abandoned because they put everybody on GTA 6.
yeah,
Well, I don't
that
know.
makes
Maybe they
sense.
put it in a vault. Maybe they'll
Yeah,
take what they were going to do and make it a Red Dead 3 later.
maybe, but for what it is, like it doesn't feel essential to the story. Like everything we needed to see, everything that needed to be closed was perfectly done so in the game, as it was.
100% agree.
Even the time jump, and we only hear it's always the classic show don't tell, but here
Mhm.
telling worked just fine.
Yeah,
We
it
only
did.
hear that Sadie went off to do this for a few years, and John and the family went to Canada, but that didn't work out, so they came back down, and now we're here. And for what it is, like, even though like none of us expected basically for this game to end where Red Dead 1 begins, but what other route had there been? We got to
I mean, it
see,
was a prequel. I always felt like we were going to end
yeah,
up, it was going to end somewhere right before the other one did.
we got to see, the house construction, which is just one of the highlights of the game. The
Oh,
house building song,
that one got
and
me down so much. You remember how when you did that, you had all these different designs for houses and stuff?
I
I
don't think.
always felt like that's how it was going to be if they ever put the houses in online,
Oh yeah, that
but
just
they never got around to it.
that was just three, 2.5 manly men constructing a house under the hot sun to fun country music. That is just that was great.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was awesome. It was a good
that was another.
montage.
I remember in the first part of the epilogue, two major like fan service moments was John doing the pose with the sword off, and then when he put on his iconic uniform and just
Oh
rides out.
yeah,
That was just like, ah! Yeah.
I was too. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna go meet Sadie again, and we're gonna go do something fun.
Yeah, it was cool that time before they leave, and like then you get his core family just living there, and uncle. But they were all there for a while, so it was kind of like they just had
Yeah,
a new
Sadie and
community.
Charles hung around for a few months or something, and but then they went out. It's kind of the poetic thing, I guess, is that throughout so much of the game, you don't have four walls and a roof over your head. You're always moving, but in the end, you made it. You have a family. You have a ranch. You own this ranch
Hmm.
and a
And you got a
beautiful
pot of money.
house at a beautiful place. So that was another just brilliant poetic aspect of it. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Anyway, I'm probably forgetting something, but I feel like we've covered a lot of other other great things. So, do you have anything you want to add or ask me towards the end here?
I think the last thing I would think about is the horse mechanics.
Yeah,
They treated the horses just like they treated the cars.
that's
Like,
true.
I've not seen before or after any horse movement in any game looks so perfect.
That's true. There was also also compared to the first game, like you really felt like this horse was yours. I
Mhm.
have had many sessions, open world sessions. I'd be riding for like an hour, but then I trip and we fall down, and I see I don't have a horse reviver on me, or I don't want to kill this horse. I'm gonna
Oh, I
reload,
reload and saves. I'm done.
reload, save, lose about an hour of progress, but like it was worth it.
Now I've done that before. This last playthrough, I did that because I decided I was going to name all my horses after peppers. So I had
Oh,
one I named Habanero, and he got killed, and I was like, no.
I just I often try to think of, I guess, like country musicians or something. What would make for a fun name? I named one. My very first horse was Nile, the Nile Horan. I also named my latest one is Arthur Erin. This is like Erin Kinsey girl, and lot
Nice.
of fun names. It's just like you've got to think of a name right now for your horse. So yeah,
My first playthrough, I named all my horses Greek after Greek gods and goddesses. So I
that
had
sounds fun. So
Aphrodite.
like Juno or what would their names be? No, Juno was Roman.
I had Aphrodite. I had Zeus. I had
That's fun.
Hades. And I don't know. It's weird. Like the Romans and the Greeks, they shared a lot of gods. They just gave them
That's
a
true.
couple of them have different names, but a lot of them were the same.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was incredible. The horses that you really got to make it your own, and yeah,
Yeah.
the mechanics were really
And
smooth.
like the customization, even you could like get in there and give it a different tail, longer
Yeah,
hair, shorter hair,
you could braid it. You could choose what kind of like
saddles,
blanket. Yeah, saddles, everything.
all that, dude. Like that it was so cool to go into the stable and it be like you went in the paint and spray in GTA.
To some extent, I guess. I guess maybe to end it, just we talk a little bit about some of the best missions, like most fun missions of the game, because there were so many iconic ones.
My favorite one, I didn't even say it's my favorite. I really like the one where they go to get Jack back in Rhodes and have to go down that tree tunnel and the whole place is
Yeah,
on
the
fire and all
eight of
that.
them just in classic Western body
Yeah.
shot fashion. And
Oh,
the
so
great thing
good.
about that is it's all the good ones. Like you got Bill and Javier too, because they are good. But with all the other good ones, there's no Micah, there's no anyone. It's just the boys.
Hmm.
And just like we're gonna kill every one of these inbred twats right now. And did you ever find that after that mission, when the house is burned down, Mrs. Braithwaite goes back in, and you can like later go back to find her burned corpse and find like valuables on her.
Oh, what? I don't know if I ever did do
Ah,
that.
that was fun. They were just an odd
I
bunch.
did go back to Shady Belle and got in a huge shootout with a new gang that moved in, though.
That's true. Yeah, the Lemoyne Raiders move in there
Those guys
afterwards.
hate me. All the gangs hate me. Besides
Yeah,
John, I've killed everybody
yeah. There were just some great
all over
missions,
the place.
and even some of the chaotic ones were fun to play, like banking the old American art, where yeah,
Mhm.
everything goes completely tits up,
Yeah.
and then the one before that, you storm Bronte's mansion. That was
Oh, that's a fun one.
yeah, that was a great
That's
one.
a fun one to do.
Did you? Are you a completionist like me, and you'll go for the gold medals?
Well, not normally. I just I like to play through and like just see the story
Some
unfold and like
some of
explore
them,
and just meander around.
some I'm like, okay, I can watch the cutscenes in this. Silver's fine, but other ones, I want that gold. And I don't care how many times I got to reload the save to try and get it. It's just that satisfaction, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, there
Yeah, I
were,
think I actually only got one platinum on the PlayStation, and it was
and of course you had
it was the
chapter 5 and
Batman Telltale series.
oh, oh yeah, that's fun. There's very few games I've completed having gotten all the achievements, but yeah, I get it.
I think the last game I 100%ed was actually Ocarina of Time.
Oh,
That was a
that's
long
fun.
time ago.
And then Guam, which was just one long mission basically, little trip to the West Indies, and then the one where you got to find the air balloon as well.
That was dope. What about the one where you're in the swamp with the gators and like you have to go through the swamp and you're like walking through the water? I took so many pictures during that
that
mission.
was really Louisiana-ish, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're like in the bayou.
That makes me think, did you ever find that cabin in the bayou that seems to belong to the strange man? It's this cabin where you can go in 4 times. The last encounter can only be done as John. Every time there's a portrait of the strange man that'll be more and more finished, and there will either be like paintings of eagles and deers or, vultures and wolves, depending on your honor. Your final encounter, you can see him in the mirror behind you. You turn around, he's gone.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because
I didn't know about that one either. There's so many things that you can find in that game.
The strange man is just one of those parts of Red Dead lore that you've got to have played the first game to truly appreciate so many parts of this one, like the fan service, some of the Easter eggs. But there was another theory. You remember Trelawney was like, is he the strange man? Because they're 2 different people, but they look very similar. The mustache, the top hat, the very British attire.
Trelawney?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it is.
He was kind of fun. It was fun to go on a scheme with him, play poker or something. And there were just so many great, fun, action-packed missions throughout the game. Nothing felt like filler, and even if it kind of did, everything had a purpose.
Yeah, it did. I don't know. I love that game. I love playing through the story.
Yeah. And I'm almost done with this replay, but I don't know.
You said you're in the John section now, right?
I'm in the John, yeah. I'm about to go build the house.
Nice.
So that's fun, yeah.
Once the house is built, you won't have much left, I think.
Nah, it's a couple missions and tall trees, and then it all ends with a bang on American Venom.
Mm-hmm. If you run around after all that's over with and you start getting up to outlaw stuff again, whenever you come back home, Abigail jumps all over you.
Yeah.
She's like, what have you been doing out there, John Marston?
Yeah. Now, it was just, so many great characters, even some of the minor supporting ones, like the girls, Mary Beth, Miss Tilly and such. Mary Beth always felt like she was the only good one among them. Like, if anyone was going to make it, it was her. Like, she'd never killed anyone. Like, she was a good soul. Even Miss Tilly had killed someone.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah.
She sure did.
But in the end, everything just works out. You get to visit old friends. Pearson's taken over that shop in Rhodes, and you can go visit him whenever you want. And you got your family, and you can encounter some all phases in the world too. So
you can encounter the leader of that Native American group,
Rains Fall. Yeah,
at Annisburg.
Annisburg, that's right. Such a depressing mining town, but that was a great detail. But yeah, I'm sure there's something we missed, and we could probably keep going, but I think we've covered...
Yeah, you can talk about that game all day.
All the essentials I can think of, and it was just an incredible game, and soon Rockstar will come and outdo it with their own new masterpiece. Once again, setting the standards and everything.
It'll be good, because once that happens, that means we'll get a lot more other cool games from other developers too, because they'll follow suit.
Yeah. But if that was it, then I just want to thank you all for listening to this new episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. That's an end everything happening here on GTABase and More Things Rockstar. Links to everyone's social media can be found down below. And of course, make sure to subscribe and keep an eye out for more episodes. Once again, thanks for listening, and stay tuned, and keep the community what it is. And I hope you had a fun time. It was fun, just babbling on about one of the best games of all time. And
talk about video games.
And that sums up this episode. Stay safe and active, everyone. See you later, Rockstars. Keep on rocking.